Alright guys, welcome back. Continuing on with the 243 series. Just sizing up our brass here. The reformed 308 Hornady head stamps we've been shooting a lot of with the cast loads, and the Federal head stamps of actual 243 brass. These are going to be going towards the IMR 4064 loads we were running with the 70 grain flat base hollow point from Spear. And we got some great numbers over the chronograph last week. And let me see here. So going off of what we were able to gather last week, we were 3 to 5 thousandths of jump from our lands, right at 2.707 overall length, plus or minus, 1 or 2 based on the shape of that hollow point of the bullet. But we landed at 41 grains. We had a single digit standard deviation of 7, I believe. And we are right at 0.81-ish right there from outside to outside. Plus or minus a bit. I don't have the best, target paper, so it's hard to measure, but I feel like we have a clear winner here with the 41 grains. That one also gave our most consistent velocity readings. So we're going to be using this brass and that load again this week to test some overall length jumping and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to be backing away from our lands since I was pretty much as close as we can get to it. I've never actually tested seating depth, but I'm going to have to either get a micrometer seating die or just kind of barely wiggle on the seating stem, to give me 3 thousandths of further seating depth, at a time. Or should I go wider? Should I do 10 thousandths jump and see if I'm look any better, and then from there we can, go wide first, find something, and then go from there and narrow down a little more. Usually I just go, hey, look, that one was the best powder charge. It looks good on that day. Yeah, but we're trying to do a little better than that. Go a little further with our load development technique. So we're going to be testing some overall length and jumping to our lands. Got the case comparator here. I still need to get the 6mm bullet comparator, but I've only been bumping my shoulders about 1 thousandth, maybe even 1/2 thousandth. So we've got a nice tight fit to our chamber, and we're trying to stretch our cases as little as possible so we can get some extra life out of that by not bumping it and firing it out and stretching it back and forth over and over again. So real quick, let's just hit these on the case prep center to touch up the case mounts there. I don't think they need trimmed just yet, and we'll get on with it from there. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the inside of the neck there real quick, and that's going to help get my flat base bullets to seat in there a little better. And also if I'm doing cast loads on these Hornady cases, it'll aid those in sliding in there as well and not shaving off any of my coating, or shave the leading or whatever. But I'm just barely touching these up. Again, we're not trimming this time because these were at the minimum spec only one firing ago, so there's no chance that they've grown to maximum spec in one firing with a absolute minimum shoulder bump. So I just had the 243 journal video out, and that was kind of a recap of everything we've done up to this point. So far I'm pretty impressed with a $300 or $400 rifle or whatever it was on Black Friday. I've since added a $400 plus scope and rings and a base and all that. I've got a bipod on it. I've done some trigger work to it. I don't have a trigger weight pull gauge, but it's definitely down from where it was at the factory, but still definitely not as light as some of my other ones, so still drop safe and all that fun stuff, which I don't really care about because I'm not going to be hunting with it. But compared to where it was at the factory, we have made a significant upgrade. And so one comment I forgot to address during our 243 journal update, whatever you want to call it, regarding the cast bullet loads, I'm going to try large pistol primers. running these low pressure, probably sub 30,000 psi cast projectile loads, pistol primers should be just fine. Pistol primers have been setting off red dot powder for decades. So my 9 grains in this case should be no problem as far as ignition qualities. So I will note that, and since we got velocity readings on 28 shots last time, we got some pretty good data. And I know it can fluctuate depending on the temperature and the weather and all that, but I want to see the difference between the Winchester large rifle primers that I was using compared to these silly Unisgenics large pistol primers that I'm essentially never going to use. I mean, I'll of course load them eventually in 45 Colt or something along those lines, or I'll probably shoot other cartridges here someday, but for now, large pistol primer is my lowest usage, and I have some of them on hand just to have, because I shoot them, but if I can allocate them to silly cast bullet loads with rifles, and then save those harder to find large rifle primers for real full power rifle loads, to me that makes sense. Because I know if I'm shooting this cast load, it's obviously a specialty load. Nobody else is going to be shooting it but me, so all necessary precautions have been taken. Weather was beautiful today. It's in the 70s. Grass is starting to grow and green stuff's growing on the trees and whatnot, and it's good stuff. So we're gonna throw these over here in the tumbler, and I'll get back with you here in a bit with whatever the next step may be here in a few days. So stick with me.